When you're ready to pop the question, the last thing you want to do is second-guess the ring. At BlueNile.com, you can design a one-of-a-kind ring with the ease and convenience of shopping online. Choose your diamond and setting. When you find the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Go to BlueNile.com and use promo code LISTEN to get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's code LISTEN at BlueNile.com for $50 off your purchase. BlueNile.com, code LISTEN.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Ciara Revin, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Jamie East, and I'm in for Ciara on this week's edition of the award-winning Sunday 7 podcast. Today we're heading back into space with SpaceX. We discover why you should use subtitles on your TV. We catch up on an OpenAI interview shambles, and Will Guyatt fills us in on the US Tik Tok ban. But first, on this day in 1912, the Times newspaper reported that the first automatic telephone equipment had been installed at the Epsom Exchange. The revolutionary technology, which involved a rotary dial, enabled people to make their own calls without the need for an operator. How very modern.
7. Well, if you're just joining us, Starship just experienced what we call a rapid unscheduled disassembly.
That is what happened last time SpaceX tested their Starship, which is the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. But this time, when it launched on Thursday, things went slightly better.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Launch. The 120-metre rocket weighs 5,000 tonnes when fully loaded, and Thursday's launch, the third in this series, from SpaceX HQ in the Gulf of Mexico went much better than the last time. The rocket took off successfully and saw the cruise vessel complete a successful rotation of the globe before it appeared to burn up on re-entry. Elon Musk hailed the flight as a sign that SpaceX has come a long way. On the launch pad, NASA Public Affairs Manager Dan Huot summed up what the third mission had demonstrated.
As we were possibly expecting, we lost the data a couple of minutes ago. We haven't heard from the ship up until this point, and so the team has made the call that ship has been lost. So no splashdown today, but again, it's incredible to see how much further we got this time around. We had a couple of those ambitious objectives that we're able to take advantage of while Starship was in outer space flying over our planet for the very first time. So that was just really incredible. Obviously, there's a lot to go through. Everyone always wants to know right off the bat what happened. Takes us a little bit of time, but I can assure you as soon as we start finding things out, we're going to let everybody know. And I know everybody's going to be excited for the next one. As I pointed out at the beginning, there's 4 super heavy boosters either fully stacked or getting stacked right behind me. We've got other ships ready to go as well. So it's going to be a really busy time down here at Starbase as we look to really fly Starship as much as possible, get this vehicle ready to go for all the important things it's got to go do.
It's been another busy week in tech with more big moves against big tech. We've seen the European Parliament endorse a new EU-wide AI law this week. We've also seen the US Congress vote to force Chinese owner ByteDance to sell TikTok or face a ban. When it comes to all things tech, there's only one man who can span the globe in a mighty leap, and that's the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So, Will, what's going on with the battle between government and big tech?
There's around 1.9 billion of us using TikTok worldwide, and those of us that know that the algorithm can keep us fixed on the app. And to many politicians around the world, it would appear that this is magical powers of influence and not clever technology. And because the app is under partial Chinese ownership, we're now very close to a US act catchily called the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act, which would force the owners ByteDance to sell the company or face being banned from the US app stores, both for Google and Apple devices.
How serious is the move against TikTok by the US?
Many House legislators have argued that the app could allow the Chinese government to access user data and influence Americans through its wildly popular platform. But if this act gets passed, Donald Trump is already suggesting he would move to ban Meta if he became president again, because his unproven view is that that business is stopping people from viewing his content.
Joe Biden just started a TikTok account, so it seems like they're not totally serious about a ban, are they? Would there be public outrage?
While this seems like the sort of bonkers idea one random politician has dreamt up, this effort seems to have fairly broad political support amongst US Congress, with 352 members for the ban and 65 against. Despite the overwhelming desire to ban TikTok, including that from Joe Biden, the contradictory attitude of US politicians is very confusing. Donald Trump is Biden's rival at the election later this year, and he said that a ban of TikTok would double the business of Facebook and Zuckerschmuck before calling Meta an enemy of the people. And in case you forgot, it was the Donald who failed in his attempts to ban TikTok in 2020. With 175 million or more Americans now using TikTok on a monthly basis, it's hard to predict what would happen if they tried to put the genie back in the bottle. But the US government are already saying they would lean on Apple and Google to come up with effective solutions to stop it appearing on US devices.
And what are the EU hoping to achieve in terms of AI regulation?
5 years after it was first discussed, the Artificial Intelligence Act is the most comprehensive set of rules passed globally so far. It's expected to act as a signpost to all governments wrestling with the fast-developing world of AI. Now, it's likely to come into force across Europe in May or June this year and acts as a consumer safety law. Essentially, it's assessing the risks of products and services, and the riskier the EU believes they are, the more they'll be assessed.
And before we go, it was a real mixed week for our friend Elon Musk, wasn't it? He had a pretty successful SpaceX launch, but he also ended up with egg on his face when he hired and fired former CNN star Don Lemon. What went on?
And remember that Musk was going to make X the town square of free speech? Well, it appears that doesn't apply to him, because Elon has been scooping up US news anchors and interviewers to create exclusive content for his platform. That's before he sat down with the former CNN anchor Don Lemon. Lemon asked a series of questions about Elon's alleged drug usage and some of the other controversies from previous years. Soon after the interview, he was told by X that they would no longer be taking his series forward. The two have flung digs at each other since, with Lemon reminding Musk that the town square shouldn't be privately owned.
Still to come on today's Sunday 7, new hope for Parkinson's disease treatments, and we meet some dedicated mother foxes. Parkinson's disease is a progressive brain disorder which can cause unintended or uncontrolled movements and can also lead to other symptoms such as stiffness, shaking and difficulty with balance and coordination. It's estimated that over 100,000 people in the UK are currently living with the disease. There's no cure, but there are a number of treatments that can ease symptoms and extend the patient's lifespan. One of the symptoms that can affect patients is what are called presence hallucinations, which leads them to overestimate the number of people in a room. Scientists in Switzerland have been studying this phenomenon and have designed a simulator using virtual reality and robotics so they can better understand and treat the illness. PhD student at Switzerland's EPFL, Philippe explains how the machine works.
So it's composed of two robots, one which is in front of the participants and one positioned in the back of the participants. So the participant is asked to perform a movement with his right arm, and the robot in the back is actually reproducing this movement, either in synchrony, so with 0 seconds of delay between the movement on the front and the movement of the robot in the back. There is a second condition that we call asynchronous condition, where we add a delay between the movement of the front and the movement in the back. When we add this delay, that's when we arrive to induce this presence hallucination, so in all participants.
Professor Olaf Blanke leads the EPFL's Laboratory of Cognitive Neuroscience, and he says the simulator is intended to help detect Parkinson's much sooner.
So our general outlook of this is, can we detect this dementia with Lewy bodies or hallucinations in Parkinson's disease as a trait 10 years, 20 years before the disease becomes manifest? Because then one could collaborate and empower disease-modifying therapies that hope to prolong the onset of the disease by 10, 20, 30 or more years. So you can't cure the disease, but you prevent, or you hope that the Parkinson's disease would only onset at the age of 100 or 110. In a sense, it's a relative cure in this sense.
If you've been on social media this week, you may have seen quite an odd video from a veterinary centre. It features staff at a wildlife centre in Richmond, Virginia, wearing a full-on fox mask as they tend to a young abandoned cub. So what's the science behind it? The newborn cub or kit weighs about 2 ounces and was found abandoned about 2 weeks ago. And if the kit is to survive in the wild as an adult, it's critical that she doesn't become too accustomed to humans. Melissa Stanley, director of the Richmond Wildlife Centre, explains why they had to take action.
Her eyes were starting to unseal, and so I didn't want the very first thing for her to see in the world would be to be a human face while I'm feeding her, because that's positive reinforcement of her having food and a human giving it to her. I don't know if there's any research on this. I do know that it works in birds, and it obviously works in pandas. She's later today going to be joining other fox kits, and we're hopeful that she'll have a wonderful future ahead of her in the wild.
Still to come on today's Sunday 7, why you should put on the subtitles on your TV. And it's time for a rebrand for Slugs and Snails.
Right after this.
Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Welcome back.
It may seem obvious, but literacy, the ability to read and write, is an essential skill, and it's estimated that poor literacy skills could cost the economy almost £1 billion. Some of the literacy issues stem from the pandemic and the interruption in normal school patterns, which has seen the primary school literacy level fall. But it turns out there's a relatively simple thing you can do at home, which could help your child significantly, as the one and only Jack Black explains.
Turn on the subtitles. Whether your child wants to be an awesome movie star or an awesome musician, an awesome president, or just generally an awesome person, they will be way more awesome if they can read. But since the pandemic, 70% of our children have fallen behind in their reading. Who are you going to call? Who can save us in our hour of need? The subtitles! Just press the button and you will blow their tiny little minds with knowledge. They'll learn to read without even realizing it. In fact, this 10-second action can double the chance of your child becoming good at reading. Do it now.
And it's not just American superstars who are encouraging the subtitle plan. A parents group in Essex are now getting involved. That's because 50,000 UK students started secondary school without basic English and math skills last year alone, so the situation is urgent. Henry Warren is the co-founder of the Turn on the Subtitles campaign.
Just by having the subtitles on, in 1 year, the average child will read the same number of words that are in all of the Harry Potter books, all of the Narnia books, all of the Lord of the Rings, and everything that Roald Dahl ever wrote combined. That's why it doubles the chance of a child leaving school as a proficient reader.
Julie Taylor from the Children's Literacy Charity says it's a small thing, but that it makes a big difference.
We can show children subtitles, we can get them to watch TV with subtitles, but actually the power of reading books is essential.
OpenAI, the largely Microsoft-owned AI company behind ChatGPT, has been having a tough time recently. A massive, potentially multi-billion-dollar lawsuit from the New York Times was lodged with the courts last December, and the two companies have been wrangling over whether or not OpenAI has been trained on copyright material. Another lawsuit landed this week, this time from Elon Musk, who claims that the company violated its promise to be a non-profit. He was involved in the early days of the company, but then walked away, and has since launched his own AI chatbot, Grok. OpenAI's Chief Technology Officer, Mira Murati, sat down with the Wall Street Journal this week to talk about their new video-generating AI project called Sora, and explained how they've created incredibly realistic video imagery.
If you think about filmmaking, people have to make sure that each frame continues into the next frame with this sense of consistency between objects and people. And that's what gives you a sense of realism and a sense of presence. And if you break that between frames, then you get this disconnected sense and reality is no longer there. And so this is what Sora does really well.
So far, so good. But when Joanna Stern started to dig a little deeper into where OpenAI sourced the material to train the artificial intelligence model, Miss Murati struggled.
What data was used to train Sora?
We used publicly available data and licensed data.
So videos on YouTube?
I'm actually not sure about that.
Okay. Videos from Facebook, Instagram?
You know, if they were publicly available to use, there might be the data, but I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not confident about it.
What about Shutterstock? I know you guys have a deal with them.
I'm just not going to go into the details of the data that was used, but it was publicly available or licensed data.
With the possible exception of SpongeBob's SquarePants pet, generally people don't feel friendly towards slugs and snails. If you're a gardener, it can quickly turn into a battle to protect your plants from the seemingly endless army of leaf munchers. But the Royal Horticultural Society thinks people should reconsider how they feel and behave towards slugs and snails. They've just launched a new campaign called Making Friends with Mollusks in a bid to get people to rethink their approach to the slimy creatures. The Middlesex Wildlife Trust is also backing the campaign, and they are suggesting people think about the mollusks as nature's clean-up crew. Abby Lynes is part of the Glasshouse team at the Royal Horticultural Society's Wisden Centre, and she says people underestimate just how important slugs and snails are in their garden's ecosystem.
For me, there is so much to love about slugs and snails. I think they really are so beautiful. But physical aesthetics aside, they also do a really good job in the garden. They're really important. So if you're a gardener who loves their garden, you definitely need to get on board with slugs and snails because they provide so many benefits. That slug and snail will do so much for you. So they will eat rotting plants, even dead animal matter, but they're really good recyclers, so they'll put the nutrients back into the soil. I understand that lots of people, gardeners, might think, oh no, all the slugs and snails are coming and eating my beautiful plants. There's about 40 species of slug in the UK and about 100 species of snail. Only a small handful are responsible for eating live plants. Most of them do feed on rotting plant matter, and there's even another reason why I love the leopard slug, because that one is quite territorial and it's quite predatory, so it will attack or even eat other slugs.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Inflation, student debt, recession, mortgage rates. Your employees have a lot on their minds. Offer them financial well-being support from Vanguard well on your way at institutional.vanguard.com. All investing is subject to risk. Advice provided by Vanguard Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor.